Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream today about getting Church Connect ready for Easter. We're going to talk about your church app and more specifically, how to get it ready for the Easter crowd. My name is Matt.
I'm Wes.
And we are really excited to chat with you today about Church Connect and about Easter, probably the most important Sunday of the year.
This is the Super Bowl of all Sundays.
It is the Super Bowl of all Sundays. I mean, Christmas gets pretty top billing as well, but I think Easter edges it out. I think it's number one.
Yeah.
Well, before we go any further, just want to give you some resources that you can enjoy and use after the live stream is over. Wes is going to drop some links here into the chat. And by the way, go ahead and jump into the chat too. Let us know your name, your church's name and location, and what you do at your church, what your role is. And also give us a little something that you're looking forward to and planning on for the Easter Sunday at your church. But I want to let you know about the Facebook group that we have, the Facebook users group that you can join. It's a private group on Facebook filled with thousands of ministers all over the world that love doing ministry and love ChurchTrac so much that if you have questions about either, they would love to help you out. So go ahead and join the Facebook group, ask any questions that you have, and someone there will have the answers, I promise. It's a great community. We're very proud of it. We also have a YouTube channel. Wes, tell them about the YouTube channel.
So if you're like me and you like to learn how to do things by watching videos instead of reading, boring. I don't like to read, even though I do a lot of reading. But yes, our YouTube channel, it's a great resource. I'll drop the link there in the chat too if you want to check that out. But we have basically any video you can imagine about how to use the software and other tips and tricks in there as well. So be sure to check that out.
Also, no matter what screen you're on in your ChurchTrac account, there's an orange, or I should say tangerine, help button in the top right-hand corner of the screen. If you click on it, first we'll give you some related help topics. These are suggested links to user guide articles related to the screen that you're looking at. But there's always a Show All Help Topics button and an Ask Us a Question button. Show All Help Topics takes you to our online user guide where we have, I think it's over 150 articles that you can read about everything to do with your ChurchTrac account. Honestly, if you have a question about your ChurchTrac account, I'd be surprised if the answer is not in one of those articles. But for those very specific or particular questions, you can create a support ticket from here to contact our support team for free, by the way, and schedule a call with our support agents as well. And that Ask Us a Question button in that Help drop-down window, that just opens up a support ticket straight away within your ChurchTrac account. So you can always get the help that you need for ChurchTrac. All right, now that we got that housekeeping out of the way.
Yes, let's get into the real stuff.
Let's dive into the meat. Let's get into what you really came here for. Today, we're going to cover three main things. First, we're going to talk about why even update your church app. We're also going to cover what to do before the big day within the app to get it ready. And then we'll also share some ideas for how to use the app during Easter service. And then we'll follow up with some tips, and then we'll have a time for some questions afterwards. So speaking of questions, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to jump into the chat at any time. Wes is going to be in the chat answering anybody's questions there. He also may call some out, and we'll answer them live here in the video. But also, if you ask a question and we just don't get to it, or if you think of something a little bit later, we'll have a dedicated time to cover any of your questions that you have. All right, Wes, I'm excited and I'm ready. I've had more coffee than any human being should consume in a 48-hour period, so I'm ready to go. Are you ready?
All right.
Awesome. Perfect. So let's get started. So starting out, why update Church Connect? Why even bother to go through the work of touching the app? There's a few different reasons why it's a great idea to utilize Church Connect for your Easter service. First of all, Church Connect is a powerful medium of communication, especially with newcomers. Well, actually, why don't we just show them? Why am I talking about it? We can just show them.
So just to kind of a quick recap, if you do not know what Church Connect is, you're unfamiliar with it, maybe you're just diving into it. So I've got my church's app pulled up here, my Church Connect, and it is a fully customizable church app and website built into ChurchTrac, and it is built out of what we call cards. And these cards, they can do so many different things. You can create pictures and everything to put in here to really make it your own. And so from here, as someone that's new to a church, I could fill out an online connection card. So great, being able to fill this out, all customizable. Maybe you want to give your people the ability to listen to your church's podcast or live stream. You can link it right in there with a card like that. The potential church pod I've got. Online giving, I could select that to give online. Times and location, prayer wall. So there's so many different cards that you can create in Church Connect. But probably one of my favorite features about Church Connect is your people having the ability to actually log in to their account. And from here, they can view their profile. If they want to update their information, they can look at any upcoming events, things that are happening at the church, things they're scheduled for perhaps. They can give online right there from their phone.
Nice.
They can even have it store their credit card info. They can link it to their bank. If you're in the United States, ACH giving is a must.
Easy.
Recurring donations. So there's so much going on in here. I just spent like 60 seconds kind of giving you the quick version of what we use entire live streams for. But today it's not as much about trying to show you how to build all this. It's more so about how just getting it prepped and ready for Easter.
Yes. So whatever you have already built into Church Connect, if you're just getting started with Church Connect, we have lots of videos in our YouTube channel that walk you through that process. But this is mostly for churches that already have a Church Connect app locked and ready to go, and how to improve it, tweak it, get it ready for the Easter crowd.
And if you do want to build your app, if you haven't even built it yet, go ahead, check out some of our other videos so you can kind of start building it.
Yes.
And then use this as your inspiration to get it ready for the big day.
That's right. Now, if a guest downloads your Church Connect app, it's like they're taking their church with you. So that's why updating the Church Connect app and getting it ready for Easter is so important, because Easter is likely one of the most attended, or it's the highest attendance event at your church for the year, or at least it's one of them. Maybe Christmas takes the cake at your church. It can be different from church to church. Church Connect is another layer of exposure for your guests with your church. So take advantage of this by adding the gospel everywhere you can within the Church Connect app, like on the pages or something to do with the actual card image itself. Get creative and think outside the box, but put the gospel everywhere you can within the app. Also, another reason why it's important to update your Church Connect app before Easter is because oftentimes it's the little things that make a really big difference. The app is not what it's all about. Obviously, Easter service is about the resurrection, and the app is just one small tool that you're using at your church. But incorporating everything, your entire process at your church, and all the tools and resources you have at your disposal to get the gospel message and to create a really cool experience for your newcomers can go a long way. Also, another reason why you should update Church Connect for Easter is because it's super easy.
Yes.
Church Connect is, or well, ChurchTrac in general is rated the most user-friendly platform by Capterra for, I think it's 6 years in a row. So it's very simple and easy to do. It's all within your ChurchTrac account. You're not having to manage multiple different platforms or software packages to do this. You do it right from within the same software you're managing the rest of your church. So it's very simple to do, and we'll show you how to do a few of these things here in this workshop. Now, Church Connect helps connect your guests to your church. Your Easter crowd, like I mentioned earlier, will give you probably the highest attendance event at your church for the entire year. So your Church Connect can play a very significant role in catching the attention of some of your guests and encouraging them to come back again the following week. In fact, we've actually seen a few churches do this really intelligently by taking the long view. For instance, one thing that's a very common experience for a lot of churches is they'll see an attendance slump during the summer. It even has the name, the summertime slump. A lot of churches lean on Easter Sunday to solve the summertime slump. So they capture the attention of all those newcomers and those guests that come for Easter and encourage them to keep coming back week after week, so that by the time summer arrives, there's still a very robust crowd on Sunday mornings in the building. So we actually wrote an article. I wrote an article, this was a few months back, on how, what did I call it? The answer to the summertime slump is Easter Sunday. That's what we called it. Wes just dropped the link into the chat for that article. Also, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel after the fact, when it's no longer live, first of all, hello from the past. The link will be in the description below, so go ahead and check that out. So now that we've covered why you should update your app for Easter, let's go ahead and talk about what to do before the big day, like the actual work of updating it. So I've got this account up on my laptop here. Step one, the first thing that I recommend you do for your Church Connect app is go ahead and update some of the images. Like Wes showed you, Church Connect is built on those cards, and there are those images that you can create for those cards. And if I go to the Church Connect page for this account, all those cards are displayed here, and I can customize them. I can make any changes to these cards I want. So what I mean by updating the images, and again, this is just one of those things where we're talking about doing the little things to make a big difference, to go a long way. I actually have this Connect with Potential card that Wes showed you, that form card where guests can fill out their contact information. It's branded the orange and blue, and it has the fonts of the church, and it's all really nice and it looks great, but there's nothing Easter themed about it. So let's go ahead and update that. I actually created an image earlier before this workshop to show you what this looks like. So I'm just going to click on the Edit Card button, and I'm going to remove this card image. And then I've got this image already created. I'm going to drag and drop it in. And it looks just like the card that I had prior. Here we go. There we go. But with a few updates and tweaks. I kind of moved the text a little bit. I got the Jesus leaving the empty tomb.
All right, first of all, I got to ask, because I know you were not a graphic designer. How did you make something look that good?
Come on, Wes. You don't think I can make that?
I know you can.
I can. So I used Canva, by the way. This is just a little aside. Canva offers their pro subscription, their paid subscription level with all of their tools and resources and all the features for free to nonprofits. Highly, highly recommend you get an account with Canva, or if you already have an account, reach out to them and apply for that nonprofit status.
And just to kind of help everybody, I'll drop in the link. We've got an article that talks about Canva and just using that, because a lot of churches love using it with Church Connect. So I'll drop that in there.
So that's just an example, though, what I showed you with this image. Think through all of the cards that you already have and the images that you're using them and that you're using for them, and think of ways that you can add a little Easter something to do with the resurrection into that card image, just to emphasize the theme of resurrection for your guests, so that they know exactly what the day is about. Again, this is just about emphasizing the little things to make a very big difference. Another really fun idea is to go even further. I'll show you real quick this Connect page. If I click on this arrow, this is the Connect page on a desktop. That's the same thing that Wes was showing you earlier. And you notice the church's logo here at the top with this it looks like a church and also an open Bible at the same time next to the church's name. I've actually created a new logo to drop in. I'm going to show you how to do that. So under Settings and Automations, under the Admin Settings tab, only the administrator of your ChurchTrac account has access to this menu, by the way. So if you're the administrator, you can do this. I'm going to remove this logo, click Delete, and I actually have an Easter-themed logo update.
Super cool.
Just for fun. So you can, again, this is just for Easter. We're going big, we're going loud. And if you keep that original file, you can just drag and drop it back in the next week so that you still have your church's logo, because you want that logo to be prominent for your people to associate with your church. But again, this is Easter. This is the Super Bowl.
Well, and I really liked how you did that. This caught me off guard, Matt, because typically when I think of your logo for your church, you want to keep it consistent. You kept it consistent with the words and the colors, but you just had that little flair you did with it. That's cool. Okay.
So that's just an idea. It's just a suggestion. You don't have to go that far. But again, this is Easter, so there's no links to which we can't go here to get the gospel message to our people, especially to those newcomers, because you never know where they are in life or if they'll ever hear the gospel message ever again.
Yeah.
So that's step one, or at least tip one, for getting everything ready before the big day. Go through the images in your Church Connect app and update them to make them Easter themed. You can completely replace them, or you can at least just tweak them, what you already have, to add a little Easter something, even little Easter eggs throughout those images. Step two, think like a guest. I know this can be a little bit difficult because your nose is to the grindstone every week doing the work of ministry, and you're in that church faithfully every week.
Well, especially if you've been in ministry for years and years, sometimes you forget, like, what does it feel like to go to some church you've never been to before?
Or even just be someone who isn't familiar with church at all.
Yeah.
Especially, like Wes said, for us who have been doing ministry for so long, you got to think way back in your memory to when you were a lot younger to even remember what church was like when it was new. So for your guests, when it comes to creating your Church Connect app and getting it ready for Easter, think of what it would take to get a guest into the app and give them a really good experience within Church Connect and have it make sense for them. In other words, and this is the main thing I'm getting at, when arranging your cards and creating the order in which they appear on the screen, as Wes was scrolling through, that Connect card was first, and then there was the podcast app, and then there was the link to the online giving.
Yeah.
Put the resources you create for your guests at the very top. That way, when they first go to your app, the first thing they see is meant for them. Even though your members are the ones who are using your Connect app the most, and you're probably giving them the resources they need, for this service, put everything guest related at the very top so that no matter who accesses it, those guests will have exactly what they need the moment they open it.
Yeah.
So take like the 3 to 5 most important cards and the most relevant for your guests and put them all at the very top so that they encounter that first.
So like, show me, like, how do I do that easily here?
So within the Church Connect app, or at least within the ChurchTrac account on this Church Connect dashboard, I can change the arrangement of these cards very quickly and easily just by clicking on Connect Menu and then Sort Cards. All I have to do from here is grab one of these cards, let's say like this online giving. And here's an idea for arranging these cards. I would actually not promote the online giving for your Easter service. And the reason why, and it's unfortunate, but the reason why is because there is a perception for some people that churches are just after their money. And you don't want to leave that impression for someone who has that assumption already loaded into their mind as they walk into the door for Easter. So I'm going to grab this card, and I'm actually going to move it further and further down the list so that it doesn't appear first when they access Church Connect. So move online giving a lot lower, and then take your connection card and maybe your welcome page and move it higher so that they see that instead of some of the other cards that are more member focused.
Yeah.
Now we also have an article that I've written already, another blog post that you can read, and it's Are My Connect Cards Ready for Easter? That's the title. Wes is going to copy and paste that link into the chat for you to read later. So go ahead and read that, where we go into much more depth on getting your connection cards ready for Easter. And one of the main principles where we advocate for your connection cards is keep them short, keep them simple, and also keep them relevant for your guests at your church. In other words, for like your connection card, that form that Wes was showing you, keep all those questions really short. Also ask very simple and easy questions that they don't have to think too much about as they're trying to navigate a new space and wrangle their kids and fill out that form either on their phone or on pen and paper. And also ask questions that are very specific to them, that would be very relevant to where they are and where they're coming from at your church. And speaking of getting forms that actually get filled out, I know we're throwing a lot of links at you, but we got a lot of resources that you can enjoy. We have a video that I did with Lori a while back about getting your church forms, getting people to actually fill them out. So go ahead and watch that video. Wes is dropping a link into that chat as well. And again, we'll have a link to that video in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube at a later date. We recommend asking questions that are directly relevant to your guests, like why did you choose our church, and what role has church played in your life in the past, or and in this case for Easter, what does the resurrection mean to you? And that way you get the gears turning in their mind as they're getting ready to sit down and listen to the sermon that you have ready for them about the resurrection so they can be better ready to receive that.
And I think what I love about this idea, Matt, is it's so easy to do it because all you have to do is go to your connection card.
So just click on it in the dashboard.
And then you're just going straight to your form real fast.
To the form questions, yep.
And then you just add another question really quick. I mean,
click
it's kind of crazy.
Yep. Let's say I want to make it a paragraph where they have a little bit of room to type out an answer. What does the resurrection mean to you? Add this field. Done. That's all it took. I just updated the form card.
I mean, it literally took us like 30 seconds to do that, and now our connection card is more so catered for this Easter Sunday.
For this Easter Sunday. And that's what's great about ChurchTrac and Church Connect. And that's what's great about using form cards in Church Connect, because your church probably has physical forms for guests to fill out that you have either in the welcome area or maybe in the back of the chairs and the pews in your sanctuary. But if you needed to make a change to those forms, you'd have to do a whole nother printing. And that can cost a lot of money and take a lot of time. This can be done in minutes, and then you can change it back whenever you're done. So this is very simple, very easy, and very effective all at the same time. We also recommend, and this is the fourth thing that we recommend you do before the big day, train all of your volunteers on Church Connect, especially on the changes you've made for Easter. So any new questions you add to the connection card, or any new cards you add to welcome the guests, make sure they're aware of those changes so that they can point the guest to those pages or those cards when they're interacting with them before and after the service.
Especially if you've added like a specific card, like a whole nother card or a form or something, you want your people to know about it so that way they can direct them, or else they're going to be like, oh, I didn't know about this one.
Yeah, it also helps because that means you sort of streamline the whole process of getting information to your guests, and you make sure that your volunteers all give the same information to your guests. So if you update your entire Church Connect page to have like upcoming events that you want your Easter guests to know about, that you think they would be excited about and come to, or if you have a form that you want them to fill out to get their contact information, even anything else besides the connection card, make sure your volunteers are aware of those additions to the Church Connect app so that they can give that to your guests as they walk in the door. Another thing that we recommend you do, and this is probably the one thing that will take a little more time, but this will be really worth your time and effort, is to create a welcome card or a welcome page within your church app. So, and what that looks like is I'm going to click the Connect menu button in the top right-hand corner of the screen within the Church Connect dashboard. And then I'm going to add a card, because this account, this church's app, doesn't have a welcome page for guests. And I'm going to go ahead and just create a page card, which is the first option already highlighted. And I'm going to edit card. I actually already have an image created for this. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And again, this is Easter themed. So there we go. There's Jesus again, resurrected with the nail scars in his hands. And then I'm going to go back. And I'm going to edit the page content. Okay. This is really cool about Church Connect, is that you can add pages. It's not just a page with a bunch of cards that give them like forms or videos or links to other websites. You can add more and more pages and a lot of content to the app itself. So for your welcome page, what I recommend you do is create like a video message from your pastor thanking the guests for attending and welcoming them back the following week. Maybe even have the video mention some like upcoming events that they can attend.
Yeah.
Also add any other whatever the most compelling information you have about your church goes on this page, like your church's mission and vision statement.
Yeah.
So add all of that here to this content editor, and it will update it and add it to the page. And again, put this card at the very top.
Yeah, I would for that.
You want your guests to know that they are welcome, and give them some really cool content for them to enjoy, especially afterwards. Like you can make this card for something for that they can watch or read after they leave the church, so they can continue to have essentially a welcome experience after they've already left. So it extends it way throughout the rest of the day and throughout the rest of the week.
What I like about this idea, Matt, is you almost can take like multiple bits of information that the average person would want.
Yes. Like
maybe they want to know, all right, what is your church's mission? What does your church believe? Maybe like the primary doctrinal things. But then they also want to know, okay, well, who is the pastor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you could put all that on just that one card. And so it's just like a one-stop shop for an average person that doesn't know anything about your ministry to be able to know in a nutshell, hey, this is who we are, this is what we believe, here's our pastor, all that stuff.
So that's what we recommend you do before the big day to get the app ready. Update your card images to make them Easter themed, add a welcome page and put it at the very top with some really cool, compelling, and inviting information about your church, as well as training all of your volunteers on Church Connect so they can use it during the service. Now let's talk about using Church Connect during the service and what exactly that looks like. The first thing that we recommend you do is that if you have a connection card in Church Connect, have your greeters and welcome team use that card as they greet the guests. In other words, emphasize using this card in Church Connect over the actual physical form card. The benefits of doing this is, first of all, you'll never lose the card. Whenever you're in your account, there's a Form Responses tab at the very top. So when you're in that Church Connect dashboard, just click Form Responses at the very top. That way you can see whenever somebody fills out that connection card, all those responses are here and they're never lost. The physical form card can get thrown in someone's book bag or someone's purse or get shuffled around on the desk like the welcome area or get dropped on the floor. So you can miss out on some information. The connection card in Church Connect, you'll never lose those form responses. Also, it gathers the same information from all of your guests rather than people trying to get information from your guests onto their own phone so they can connect with them later. It's better to just have a form card that has all the same questions for each guest, and you can gather exactly the information you need from those guests to reach out to them later and invite them again to your church. Also, another really big benefit to using this Connect card instead of a physical form card is it prevents you from forcing your guests to go through that awkward process of fumbling that clipboard and pen with their coffee mug and keeping an eye on their kids in a new space and trying to interact with them in person.
The last thing I would want to have to do if I'm visiting a church when I have my 11-month-old is to you hand me a card that I have to fill out.
While you're carrying her and your coffee and a diaper bag and trying to fill it out and talk to the person who's getting your information.
Yeah.
What I've done at my church is I've had the form card opened up on my phone or on a tablet, and I just ask the person's information right there as I'm chatting with them. So in the conversation I'm already having, I go ahead and just ask, hey, Wes, what was your last name? All right, well, what's your email address? Do you prefer to be contacted by email or phone? And you just type it in as you go along, and that way you get the information. It's a very smooth and easy, seamless transition, and you don't force them to have to fill it out themselves and go through that stressful process.
Well, and you can make it so seamless. All right, let's say I'm the communications director at our church. I'm sitting at the welcome table. Hey, what's your name?
I'm Matt. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Matt. Now, is this your first time visiting our church?
Yeah, I'm here just visiting my grandma.
Oh, perfect. Well, would you like to get connected to maybe learn more about our church and everything?
I would love to, absolutely.
Okay, so here, let me just get your info real fast. So Matt got your info here. Matt, what's your last name?
Payne, P-A-Y-N-E.
All right. Perfect. And then what's your email?
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so fake email at whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then you want to get connected. Do you want to maybe have one of the pastors reach out to you?
I would love that, yes.
Okay.
I have a lot of questions.
All right. Well, I will get the pastor to reach out to you. And hey, before you peace out, how can I pray for you today?
Oh, my wife, we just had a baby, so just pray for that new baby.
All right. Well, just had a baby, so we're going to be praying for that. And I'll reach out to you too tomorrow, perhaps.
Perfect.
If that works. And what does the resurrection mean to you?
Easy as that. And again, this is all part of the conversation. And the cool thing about adding those questions like what does the resurrection mean to you, or what role has church played in your life that we mentioned earlier, these are like icebreakers or topics of conversation that can lead to deeper conversations and connections between your volunteers and these guests. And again, it gets the gears turning as they walk into the sanctuary and are preparing to receive the gospel message that you have prepared for them for Easter. We also recommend displaying the QR code for your Church Connect app everywhere. So that way, in the welcome area, on a slide during the service, definitely call attention to it. I mean, you could just welcome everyone, thank the guests for coming. Thank you so much that you joined us for worship today. By the way, go ahead, if you're new here, go ahead and pull out your phones and scan the QR code that's on the screen. We've got some really great information for you on our app. You can download that and take it with you after the service. Easy as that.
Well, and Shirley even mentioned this in the chat. How do you recommend helping people get connected on their phones and everything? Definitely that QR code that you mentioned. And just to reiterate, that QR code, it's available by going right there on the Church Connect screen and then to your Church Connect menu. you have access to your QR code and your unique URL, which, by the way, if you have not customized your URL, you should totally do that. But this QR code you can download and you can put that all over the place. I've seen a lot of churches, they put this in the back of the chairs, the pews. They put it on the screen. I've seen some churches.
Flyer or brochure that they hand out.
Church bulletin if you're rolling with that. Even some churches I've seen, I don't always recommend it, but they'll put it in the bathroom. So it's just kind of funny.
Don't encourage people to pull out and open up their camera in a bathroom. Don't ever do that.
But, like at doors, like common areas that people are, and having signage pointing them to that church app. That's just such an easy way. So hopefully that answers your question there, Shirley.
Mention the app during the service from the stage. Like I mentioned earlier, you can call attention to it with that QR code, but go even further and mention it. Make sure you mention it in the sermon itself. Just encourage people to access all the other content, not just the guests with the guest content, but if you have reading plans or Bible study information or sermon notes or a video from like a prior event that you've done, encourage people to access that information in the app. It'll drive greater engagement even among your members with your app, but also it'll encourage some of those guests to use it as well. And that, again, is another opportunity for your guests to interface with your church and for your church to leave a positive impression and encourage them to come back week after week, which is the main point. You want to give them the gospel message in that very distilled way on Easter, but you also want to love them and disciple them long term.
Yes, so discipleship's what it's all about.
Exactly. So Church Connect can be used as a tool to not just give them the gospel message, but also encourage them to come back so that you can continue to walk with them in Christ. Also, add your sermon outline in Connect. I've seen some churches do this very, very intelligently.
Yes.
And it's really cool. One church I talked to, what they did is instead of just creating like a page card with the text of the sermon notes, they created a form card with questions about the sermon so that people can fill out that form as they listen to the service. So they can actually follow along, type in their answers or type in like the question that the pastor asks in the sermon so they can pay attention and have those notes and submit that form to the pastor to let the pastor know that they're actually paying attention.
Yeah. Well, and I actually worked with one pastor a while back, Matt. I can't remember if I told you about this one. He would have these questions in there, and he had some really hard questions that you had to really be paying attention during the service. And what he would do is the person that answered all the questions correctly, he would pick a random one out of that and then give them free coffee. And so he'd actually take them out for coffee or even treat them to lunch or something. So
nice.
Kind of cool.
Love it. Always a great idea, and always we encourage churches to think outside the box and get very creative with how you use Church Connect. Not just the content you put in it, but how you use it and encourage your members to interact with it and benefit from it as well. So that's the main key things we recommend you do for getting ready before Easter and also using Church Connect during your Easter service. Just a few extra tips, a few extra ideas for how to maximize your experience with Church Connect. We recommend making your card images and text really easy to read. And here's what I mean. And I'm kind of exposing myself here, Wes.
Okay.
I made this mistake, and I want you all to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to show you what I did wrong and how you can avoid this. I'm going to show you my church's Church Connect page. And this is going to be updated soon, I promise. But I have these cards here, and you notice this Connect with Metro card. It actually is very similar to the Connect with Potential card that we had. I created the Connect with Potential card after I did this because I learned a lot of really cool things when I made this.
I already see this, Matt.
But if I zoom in, you may not even be able to see this on your screen.
I can't see that, and I have 20/15 vision.
If I zoom in, there's a line of text here. We love to connect with you. The reason why I made this mistake is because when I made this image in Canva, it was about this big on the screen as I made it. I wasn't thinking about the fact that it would look tiny on a phone. So if I zoom back out, don't put really tiny fonts or text in your cards and in your images because no one will be able to read them. So make sure you use big, bold, loud wording, or at least icons that make it very obvious what the card is about. That way people can actually know and understand what they're looking at.
Well, and I mean, you could, now here's just an idea, but you could maybe have it to where if they zoom in to read the text and it's actually hey, if you actually read this, email me at so-and-so and I'll give you a free Starbucks card or something. That'd be kind of funny, but Man.
Yeah, so make your card images and your text easily readable and understandable. That's just a general tip for your Church Connect, and not even just for Easter, but in, broadly speaking.
So it's kind of like making me think now about the things I've created. Like maybe I should like remember to always look at something as if I didn't actually create it, and just kind of have those fresh eyes. Like, okay, can I actually read all these things? Or are all these colors crazy?
So like thinking like a guest again. Whenever you're adding text and images to these images, make sure you're not using wording or nomenclature that is understood by your members, but is very unique, sort of like jargon that would be very unique to your church that a guest wouldn't understand. You want your guests to be able to scroll through and understand everything that they're looking at within the app so that they can interact with it and benefit from it. And speaking of thinking like a guest, just to reiterate something I mentioned earlier, we recommend you determine the 3 to 5 most important cards or content that you have in the Connect app for your guests and put them all at the very top. That way it's the first thing they see, they don't miss it. It's very obvious that this is for them, and that way they can have a positive experience within the app and again have a positive experience with your church, because Church Connect is just an extension of your church anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say this is taking it to another level. But did you know in Church Connect you can actually hide cards and make them only visible to members if they're logged in, and then other cards that are only visible when someone's not logged in?
Yeah, so to take the idea of moving your online giving card further down to another level, I can click on it here on this dashboard. And then if I scroll down where it says card status, it's just displaying until a date that I determine. If I leave that blank, it'll just stay there forever. But I can also say that I only want this to be displayed when the member is logged in. So Wes showed you earlier that this is also, Church Connect is a member portal that members can access their profile. Selecting this option under card status will determine that whenever someone first accesses Church Connect, they don't see that card until they tap that sign-in button, enter their credentials, and log into their profile. So you can actually make Church Connect essentially 2 different experiences for your guests. You can have cards that only display when they're not logged in, and then have a whole other set of cards that only display when someone is logged in, and have essentially 2 different apps that you can have for your church.
And I've even seen some churches, what they'll do is just straight up on the card status, they'll take it to another level and say hidden. And they'll hide certain cards that, like a volunteer card and stuff like that. But for Easter, they just want to keep their Church Connect very, very minimal. They don't want to have much noise on there.
Right.
So that way, there's only so many cards that a guest will be able to see.
Yeah, rather than having like 10 or 12 cards, have 5 or 6 cards.
Correct.
That way it's very simplified and user-friendly and guest-friendly. And another thing to just reiterate, talk about the app a lot during Easter service. Have your volunteers, your welcome team, have them talk about it a lot as well with your guests, and encourage the guests to scan the QR code and download the app on their phone. And then also do it from the stage. Just mention it everywhere and encourage as many people as possible to download it. You might even convince a few of your longtime members to download it too. So you'll have a higher adoption rate and use rate of your app, and get more guests to interact with the app and use it during the week. And again, hopefully come back next week.
Well, an app is kind of, I'll use this to date me a little bit, but field of dreams. A lot of people think that when they build their church website or their church app, they think, okay, if I build it, people are just going to go to it. No, they're not going to go to it unless you tell them about it. And sometimes it requires us telling people in a multiple different ways beyond just telling them, during the service, during like a welcome time, but also having the pastor mention it during the sermon at some point as a nice little segue to their sermon notes. But then also having like a poster up there, but then also having it on the back of the pews of the chairs with that QR code. And if you can tell people 5 or 6 different ways within that hour-and-a-half period on Easter Sunday, there's a more likely chance that they're going to actually download the app.
So those are the tips, and that's everything that we have for this workshop about getting your church app ready for Easter. We're about to jump into the Q&A session, so if you have any questions that we didn't get to, or if you've thought of some and haven't asked them, go ahead and drop them into the chat now. While you're thinking through those questions and adding them into the chat, I just want to reiterate, we do have a Facebook group that we would love for you to join. We'll make sure to drop in that link again here in the chat here in just a moment, but go ahead and request to join that group. It's a group with thousands of ministers from around the world who would love to help you out with any questions that you have about either ChurchTrac or just ministry in general. Also, we have that YouTube channel. You may be watching this on that channel right now. Be sure to subscribe to that channel to stay up to date on any future workshops that we do like this one or other. We have a lot of different videos that we add there. So It's a great channel, lots of great content there. Go ahead and subscribe and enjoy that. And then also click the help button if you're in your ChurchTrac account. Reach out to the support team with any questions that you have, no matter what. And again, it's totally free to reach the support team.
Yeah, we don't charge for that. Never have. So yeah, bring us your questions. I'm ready here to kind of look at the questions that you bring to us. So Annette says, show us a finished page card, please.
A finished page card? So for that, I actually have, let me go back to the Connect app here. We actually have a few different page cards that I'll show you real quick. First off, this like come worship with us, the time and location one. If I click on that, it opens up a page with a really cool, oops, I had to refresh it because we moved stuff. It has this Google map embedded on the page. So you can actually embed content. If you know a little bit about HTML coding, and you don't even really need to know a lot of information.
You just need to know enough to be dangerous.
Well, the cool thing about Google Maps is they give you the HTML code.
So you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, you just copy it from Google Maps whenever you pull up a pin location on the app and drop it into the content editor on the page card, and it'll upload that information. So you can have a page with content embedded like a Google Map or even a YouTube video. Another example of a completed page card is this prayer wall. If I click on it, this displays prayer requests by the members of the church. So this is what it looks like with like even different headers and different fonts added to the page. And then what's another good one? Oh, sermon notes. Yeah, we mentioned adding sermon notes to your app to use during your church service. So this is an example of what that looks like. You can add links even, hyperlink to other pages, all sorts of really cool and fun stuff you can do within a page. So definitely go ahead and add a page to welcome your guests and add all kinds of content.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of pastors that love just dropping their sermon notes into Church Connect every week. It's just kind of like the standard thing they do, that Sunday morning before they go out to preach, they drop in those sermon notes, and that way their people have access to all of that information so they can even dive more so into what they're talking about and get into the meat of the word.
I mean, my pastor is the kind of guy that like has a lot of notes for his sermon that he doesn't even get to during the sermon. It's just a lot of extra stuff. And he'll like say it in the midweek podcast, but it's also great to have another way to like get people exposed to the other things that the pastor learned during sermon prep that he doesn't have room for in the service. So you can add all kinds of extra goodies in there as well.
All right, so Heidi was asking, can you link that? What were you referring to?
Could you link that? I'm not sure what you mean, what you're referring to by that. What exactly are you wanting to link?
Yeah, give us more info, Heidi, and then we'll answer that one for you. Now, just kind of, well, Kim brought another question. Let's see. So being that I have the app already, I'm curious to know if the QR code is all that is needed to direct visitors to which app to download, or do we need to help them find the ChurchTrac app? So here's what's so cool, Kim, is we've designed the app to not have to go search for it on the App Store and everything. They literally, all they need is that QR code or that URL. Because when they go straight to that, it's automatically going to prompt them on their phone to download the app and everything. And it works in both iOS and Android beautifully.
Yes.
That's probably one of my favorite things about Church Connect, just because I see a lot of churches, they have an app on iOS, but then the app for Android is kind of different. And a lot of times it doesn't even work as good because they don't put as much time and energy to that.
Yeah, those are two different platforms. And so app creators have to like build the app to cater to both. Church Connect does that seamlessly. It's a web app that you can download onto your phone. It works on any device. Again, all you need is either the link or the QR code. And if they're iPhone users, they get a prompt to download. I got a prompt on my Samsung, so some Androids will also prompt people to download right from the app as well.
Yeah, and especially in these past few years with QR codes and everything, we are kind of hitting a point where a lot of apps no longer need to be in the App Store. In fact, I was just out of town and I had to park my car somewhere, and they had this QR code I scanned, and it literally, like as soon as I scanned it, the app opened, and I was like, oh, this is just like Church Connect.
Yeah,
like, this
I've
is
done
so
that
easy.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how Church Connect works and how to download it on people's smartphone. You don't have to like direct them anywhere. You just give them the QR code and it takes them exactly where they need to go to download the app onto their phone.
Yeah. So Karen, just to reiterate that QR code, click that connect menu, and there you can actually download that QR code. It actually downloads it into a friendly file type that you can print out, you can put digitally anywhere. And if you haven't customized your URL, definitely do that. All right, Doug is asking, hey Doug, can you publish some of your card examples with more detail so that it's easy for us to recreate it in our Church Connect page?
Absolutely. I mean, we have this web page here, potentialchurch.churchtrac.com. Wes, go ahead and just put that right there in the chat for them to have later.
Yeah.
So potentialchurch.churchtrac.com, that's the link to this Church Connect page. You are 100% allowed to peruse this and use this for inspiration for your own church. So you can copy everything here. We haven't copyrighted it. Go ahead and use it to your heart's content.
And a little bit later today, Matt will jump in the Facebook group and just kind of post a thing just to share any stuff. So yeah, if you have like really specific things, or you're just needing some help with creating something in Canva or whatever, just hop in there in Facebook and everything. We'll help you out with that. All right, so another question. So we've got so many good questions coming in. Okay, so Mark is asking, as an administrator, I see the page differently than a guest. Can I simply log out to see what a guest would see their first visit to Connect page?
Yes. So if you're in Church Connect, just on the main web page like I am here with this Potential Church web page, there's that sign-in button in the top right-hand corner. If I log into that, I will see what Church Connect looks like as a member of the church. Right now, I'm signed out. I haven't logged in, so I'm looking at it with a guest's eyes. So just in the app, tap that little cogwheel in the top right-hand corner and sign out. In fact, Wes is, I think, showing you how to do that right now.
Yeah, so that little cogwheel, so I select that, and then I can select sign out. And then I'm signed out, and then that's what your people are going to see immediately when they go to that for the first time. So, man, that I got to hand it to you, Matt. That
Did it already refresh?
Nice. That image you created, it just looks so good. And I'm like, all right, we're going to keep that one up the rest of the year. I like that.
All right. And again, I did that in Canva in like 10 minutes. So it's easy if you use Canva because they have the templates. And plus, I had already created that image for the Connect card. All I did was take that and like change a couple colors on it and add that icon of Jesus coming out of the tomb. That was it. That's all I changed.
That's awesome. All right, so Shirley, I'm glad you actually mentioned this, Shirley. One thing to mention is that for iOS, you need to do it on Safari, not Chrome. Yeah, it'll still work, because Church Connect is a website, it is an app, it's all those things into one. But in terms of it automatically prompting people to download that app into their phone, you are correct, Shirley. If they are the few users, there's not many of them out there. I think it's like 2% of iPhone users use the Chrome on their phone.
Oh, really? And it's always Safari?
Yeah, it's usually Safari just because it's default. But yeah, your people will not automatically have it prompt them to download it, but they can still do that just by using Safari. And then Gene, what is the font you used for Connect with Us?
Oh, I think it's Playfair. I think it's what it was called in Canva.
Shoot an email to Matt, Gene.
Yeah, so matt@churchtrac.com and ask, and I'll double check and get you that font.
All right, so Lee, hey Lee, not super related. That's okay. I'll allow it here. But has anyone created a login for your tax statement graphic? No, that's actually a really good question. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that, but that is actually a really smart idea, especially if you've got a lot of people at your church that just are struggling with that. Just some people are not technologically inclined.
True.
So yeah, ask in the Facebook group on that if anybody else has done that, Lee. I'm kind of curious to see. I'll be checking that. We try to, the Facebook page is really ran more so by ChurchTrac users, not us here at ChurchTrac, but occasionally we jump in and like to answer things and help out too. All right. Any other questions? I mean, I would say speak now, forever hold your peace, but as they already know, I mean, there are multiple ways to get in touch with us or other ChurchTrac users on the Facebook group, which still blows my mind how that group has grown from just, I remember a couple of years ago, we'd started it on a whim and it had like a handful of people. And now we've got thousands of church leaders all around the world that are going onto that group and just helping each other out, answering questions and stuff.
We get hundreds of new users every month.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun group. It's a great group. We're very proud of it. We love it.
All right, so Deandra, sorry, just logging in, and I may have missed this, but did you say that there is an app to download? I looked up ChurchTrac, nothing came up. So this is the cool thing. We have been kind of future-proofing Church Connect. It is not in the App Store. And the reason we did that is because we wanted to make it as easy as possible for your people to download the app, because literally all they have to do is scan that QR code or click that URL that maybe you emailed or texted or whatever to them, and then it instantly opens up the Church Connect that you've created and then prompts them to download it to their phone. So that way, funny story, I'm going to go off on a tangent here.
Sure, do it.
But I was visiting a church once, and they told me to download their app, and I wanted to download their app because, I was thinking about maybe attending this church. So I go to download the app, and then I was like, you know what? I want to go ahead and just give to this church real quick. So I was about to give, and right before I hit the give button, I thought to myself, wait a minute, is this the right church? It was not, because I downloaded the wrong church's app. It just so happened that particular church had like an identical logo to 3 other churches that were on the App Store. And so I almost gave to a church, I think it was in Indiana, I almost gave to, and it was just funny. And I love this just because it makes life easier for your people. And we are starting to see the world make this dramatic shift where a lot of devices now, whenever possible, companies are trying to avoid the App Store because they can just bring it up instantly on the phone. And I even saw that with parking the other day, so that was kind of funny. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions, Matt.
Awesome. Well, we really enjoyed chatting with you about Church Connect and about getting everything ready for Easter. I loved it just because I'm excited about Easter. I'm really looking forward to worshiping with my church and celebrating the resurrection. Again, if you have any questions, join the Facebook group, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also reach out to the support team anytime you ever need help. I hope you have a blessed day. Thanks for watching.
See ya.